Hi, my name is Ben Brainerd. Trevor Noah is stepping down from The Daily Show, and I just had surgery, and I didn't want to dress up in a bunch of characters, so what better time than now to do a fake Daily Show audition thing? Here's the news. Dream finally revealed his face, and it only took him 59 years since the first time Martin Luther King introduced him. I wrote this joke weeks ago when it first happened, and since then we've learned that Dream is actually a conservative pedophile. I do want to make sure that you guys know I'm not conjoining those. Those are two separate ideas. The conservative and pedophile are two separate things. He's not a conservative pedophile. Although, we are going to take a note. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was seen down in South Florida cleaning up after Hurricane Ian, and that's not so much the news as it is that he did it while wearing his best Reno 911 cosplay. That's right, he was out there new boot goofing. Look, I understand that wearing some bright white shoes can help contrast the darkness of your character, but I have never seen a true Floridian wear bright white rain boots to help clean up after a hurricane. I know some boots are made for walking. These boots were made yesterday. As a 25-year veteran of the state of Florida, I can tell you confidently what the actual post-hurricane cleanup outfit is. You have to wear a Salt Life hat, either shirtless or a Guy Harvey t-shirt, board shorts, swimming trunks, and on your feet, you're either wearing an old pair of running shoes that you don't care about anymore, a pair of flip-flops, or nothing, and you just pray to the great gator in the sky that you don't step on something slimy. Here's a question. If DeSantis stepped on something slimy, would he notice? It's kind of like asking if a fish knows he's wet. It was Fat Bear Week in the news, and I called up my friend Daniel Spencer to ask how the gays celebrate, and then I found out it's a nature thing, not a gay thing. We just let that one slide. We just let them name it that. Okay. Louisiana Senator John Kennedy released a campaign video backing the blue in which it ends with him saying, "Look, if you hate the police just because they're the police, next time you're in trouble, call a crackhead." Do I think this is an absolutely insane thing for a senator to say? Yes. Do I agree with him? Yeah. Look, as long as Republican politicians are going to use bad faith rhetoric around the concept of defunding the police to politicize the issue and divide us further as a nation instead of coming together agreeing that we can have a better system and using that work to make better policies to help police work be safer, easier, and better for everyone, then I really don't see how calling a crackhead could be worse. He'll have a faster response time, he's not afraid to get shot, he'll work for cheap, and unlike most police officers, he'll probably live in the neighborhood that he patrols, so he'll care about the people in it. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has already spent more than $12 million busing migrants to cities like New York City and Chicago because he says those bigger cities are better equipped to handle the situation. Ah yes, the two things the people of Texas love more than anything: frivolous government spending and admitting that somewhere else is bigger than you. I'm sure his fan base will love this dearly. Now, we could talk about how Governor Abbott could have just used that $12 million to buy better equipment, make better facilities, and buy basically anything that he needed to help control this border crisis. But if he did that, it would just make it look like he cares about people, and that would be way worse for his campaign than anything like, I don't know, letting the power grid fail consistently and then allowing power companies to gouge prices taking advantage of Texans. That would be crazy. If Governor Abbott's true intentions here is to end or at least mitigate immigration, then he probably should stop sending them to places like New York City, because courts in New York have already approved over 70% of asylum seekers. If your whole party runs on a tactic of creating a monster and then selling the defense to that monster, you better not let somebody else prove that that monster wasn't very scary in the first place, because that would just make you look like a coward. And if we're already going through Texas bingo, I think we just nailed it there. President Biden has taken the first steps towards decriminalization of weed on a federal level. He announced an executive order that would release people from jail and expunge the records of anybody who was arrested for simple marijuana possession on the federal level. This move will expunge the records of 6,500 people and release none of them. Yeah, there's nobody in jail on the federal level for simple marijuana possession. And furthermore, you actually have to have been a citizen of the United States for this to affect you at all. He also has some department to just look at how we schedule marijuana, and he called on all the governors of all the states to do the same thing that he's doing instead of, just doing it. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he did this right before the midterms. The political equivalent of slow and steady wins the race is, I will do one thing they ask me to every 2 years. This executive order just kind of feels like working a really busy lunch rush and then your manager clocks in right after the rush and tells you can go home early. Like, you're happy that you can go home early, but you're sitting there like, wish you could have just helped. And when you talk about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris specifically, it kind of feels like you're working a really busy lunch rush where both your manager and your general manager went through the drive-thru like 8 or 9 times and had very complicated orders in 1994, and then afterwards they clocked in while still eating the food and told you can go home. I also think when they walked in and told you could go home, they'd be like, we did it, Joe. We did it. Final thoughts. Am I happy he did it? Yes. Do I wish he did more? Yes. Should I have called a crackhead instead? Probably. That's all for today. There were more headlines. I didn't talk about them. Bye!